What on earth is Blinded by the Light about? Who writes lyrics like that and why? That song is just another example of why classic rock for the 1970s is so awesome. Because no doubt, the lyrics are as confusing to you as they are and were for everyone since it came out. And so this exploration is going to dive into its creation, recording, lyrical content, and impact, enriched with trivia and insights that reveal its enduring significance. Now let's begin our journey. Blinded by the Light began its life not with Manfred Mann's Earth Band, but with Bruce Springsteen, who wrote and recorded it for his 1973 debut album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Released as the album's first single, Springsteen's version was a sprawling, wordy slice of rock poetry that showcased his early style, verbose, vivid, and steeped in youthful exuberance. However, it failed to chart, overshadowed by the album's lack of commercial traction at the time. You see, Springsteen was still an up-and-coming artist, and Greetings didn't yet have the polish or punch of his later works. Columbia Records president Clive Davis had even pushed Springsteen to write a hit single for the album, resulting in Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night, but neither resonated with radio audiences in their original form. Enter Manfred Mann's Earth Band, a British progressive rock outfit formed in 1971 by South African-born keyboardist Manfred Mann. Mann had already tasted success in the 1960s when he scored a #1 hit with Do Wah Diddy Diddy in 1964. By the 1970s, he'd shifted gears, embracing a more experimental, album-oriented rock sound with the Earth Band. The group had a knack for reinterpreting other artists' songs, Bob Dylan's Mighty Quinn being a notable early success, and Springsteen's catalog caught Mann's attention. The story of how Mann discovered Blinded by the Light involves a bit of serendipity. You see, in 1975, Philadelphia DJ Ed Skiaki, who was a fan of the Earth Band, handed Mann a copy of Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey, suggesting it contained tracks ripe for reinterpretation. Mann listened and initially gravitated toward Spirit in the Night, which the band covered and released as a single in 1975 to modest success. But it was Blinded by the Light that ultimately struck a chord. Mann saw potential in its energy and imagery. The Earth Band's version was recorded for their 1976 album, The Roaring Silence. The single hit the airwaves and slowly climbed the charts, peaking at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on February 19, 1977. Springsteen's only songwriting credit to achieve that feat. The success marked a turning point for the Earth Band, elevating them from cult status to mainstream recognition, and it remains their signature song. Now let's talk about the production and recording. The production of Manfred Mann's Earth Band's Blinded by the Light was a collaborative effort, helmed by Manfred Mann himself alongside the band, with engineering by Lawrence Latham at the Workhouse Studios in London's Old Kent Road. The lineup included Mann on keyboards, Chris Slade on drums, Colin Pattenden on bass, Dave Flett on lead guitar, and newcomer Chris Hamlet Thompson on lead vocals and guitar. Thompson joined the band just as they began working on the track, replacing guitarist Mick Rogers, who reportedly left partly due to disagreements over recording Springsteen covers. So that clearly was not the best move that gentleman ever made, was it? Mann approached the song with a clear vision: transform Springsteen's loose, Dylan-esque ramble into a tight, dynamic rock anthem. Springsteen's original clocked in at just over 5 minutes, driven by acoustic guitar, piano, and a jazzy, freewheeling arrangement. The Earth Band stretched it to 7 minutes, infusing it with progressive rock flourishes, layered instrumentation, extended solos, and a polished studio sheen. Mann produced the track, leaning heavily on his keyboard expertise, while the band collectively shaped its arrangement over weeks of rehearsal. One of the standout additions was the inclusion of the chopsticks piano melody, suggested by drummer Chris Slade. Mann initially resisted, fearing it was too gimmicky, but Slade pointed out that the chords, already part of the song structure, fit perfectly as a transition between the chorus and verses. After syncing 2 tape machines, which was a technical challenge in the pre-digital era, they recorded it as a backing vocal layer, adding a playful yet iconic touch. Now, as you already know, the recording process wasn't without hiccups. The infamous deuce, douche controversy stemmed from a technical glitch. Springsteen's original lyric was cut loose like a deuce, and that was referencing a 1932 Ford Deuce Coupe hot rod, and it was altered to revved up like a deuce by Mann. So that seems simple enough, right? Change cut loose to revved up. Fine, no problem. Off we go. However, a misaligned tape machine azimuth, essentially the angle of the tape head, muddled Thompson's pronunciation. Mann explained to Record Collector in 2006, it came out sounding like douche. I screwed it up completely. Attempts to fix it resulted in a compromised pronunciation closer to deuce, but the damage was done. Listeners heard wrapped up like a douche, sparking endless debate. The track's instrumentation was meticulously crafted. It opens with a swirling synthesizer intro reminiscent of The Who's Won't Get Fooled Again, setting a dramatic tone. Flet's soaring guitar solo, Slade's propulsive drumming, and Mann's keyboard flourishes, including Moog synths and Hammond organ, gave it a rich, textured sound. Thompson's powerful vocals carried the verses, while Mann himself sang the final verse, a rare vocal cameo prompted by an unsuccessful attempt to get Springsteen to contribute. The single edit trimmed the song to 3 minutes and 48 seconds, exercising some instrumental sections, but the full 7-minute album version remains the definitive take, showcasing the band's progressive leanings. Now let's begin our lyrical analysis. Springsteen wrote Blinded by the Light by flipping through a rhyming dictionary, crafting a stream of consciousness narrative brimming with colorful characters and surreal imagery. It's a snapshot of a youthful recklessness, blending autobiography with poetic license. The Earth Band retain most of Springsteen's lyrics with minor tweaks, so this analysis applies to both versions, though Mann's delivery adds a distinctive flavor. The song is a kaleidoscope of characters, emotions, and surreal scenes, and interpreting it feels like peeling back layers of a dreamlike coming-of-age tale. Springsteen himself has described it as a young musician's attempt to cram everything he'd seen and felt into one explosive track. So let's explore what he might have meant line by line while acknowledging the song's intentional ambiguity. Now, right out of the gate, we're thrown into a chaotic, youthful world. The opening line, madman drummers, bummers, Indians in the summer with a teenage diplomat, is famously autobiographical. Madman Drummers nods to Springsteen's early drummer, Vinnie Mad Dog Lopez. Indians in the Summer conjures a nostalgic, almost mythical image of freedom, perhaps kids playing in the heat, untamed and adventurous. Springsteen has said it references his childhood Little League team. And the teenage diplomat feels like the narrator, doesn't it? A young, idealistic figure trying to navigate this madness with a mix of swagger and naivete. It's the collision of innocence and rebellion, a hallmark of Springsteen's early work. Verse 2. In the dumps with the mumps, as the adolescent pumps his way into his hat. This is pure adolescent awkwardness. In the Dumps with the Mumps paints a picture of a kid feeling down, physically and emotionally wrecked by puberty's indignities. The next line, pumps his way into his hat, is trickier. It could be a sly, humorous reference to masturbation, a hat as a stand-in for something personal or private, or maybe it's about a boy primping, trying to find confidence in his appearance. Either way, it's a snapshot of teenage frustration and fumbling self-discovery. Verse 3. With a boulder on my shoulder, feeling kinda older, I tripped a merry-go-round. Here the tone shifts to weariness. The boulder on my shoulder suggests a chip on the narrator's shoulder or the weight of growing up too fast. Tripped a merry-go-round feels like a stumble in life's dizzying ride. Childhood's carousel isn't so fun anymore. The innocence is slipping, replaced by a premature sense of aging. Verse 4. With this very unpleasing sneezing and wheezing, the calliope crashed to the ground. The calliope, a steam organ tied to carnivals, crashing is a powerful symbol. Its sneezing and wheezing mirrors the narrator's own struggles, and its collapse could represent the end of a carefree youth. The music's breaking down, just like the illusions of childhood. Springsteen's love for carnival imagery shines here, hinting at life as a wild, noisy spectacle that's starting to falter. And then you got the chorus. But she was blinded by the light, revved up like a deuce, another runner in the night. The she might be a girl the narrator's chasing, or a symbol of his own ambition. Blinded by the light suggests being overwhelmed with the chaotic imagery of youth. Revved up like a deuce. Once again, a 32 Ford hot rod, famously misheard as douche in Manfred Mann's cover, is all about speed and power, while Runner in the Night evokes something racing through life, restless and searching. It's the song's emotional core, a mix of exhilaration and disorientation. Verse 5. Some silicone sister, with her manager mister, told me I got what it takes. Enter a cast of shady characters. The silicone sister could be a woman with artificial charm. Silicone, hinting at cosmetic enhancement, may be a groupie or a temptress from the music scene. Her manager mister pushes the narrator, feeding his ego. You've got what it takes. It's a seduction, maybe literal, maybe the lure of fame, offering something strong and a funky break, a musical or personal escape. She said, I'll turn you on, sonny, to something strong. Play the song with the funky break. Verse 6. And Go-Kart Mozart was checking out the weather chart to see if it was safe outside. Go-Kart Mozart is a delightful absurdity, a kid genius mashup of reckless fun, go-karts, and prodigious talent, Mozart. Checking the weather chart feels cautious, almost paranoid, contrasting the song's wild tone. It's like a young artist weighing risks before leaping into the world, a nod to Springsteen's own early career hesitations. Verse 7. And little Early Pearly came by in his curly-whirly and asked if I needed a ride. Early Pearly sounds like a quirky friend or a carnival figure, with curly-whirly suggesting a whimsical vehicle or hare, offering a ride or a lifeline, a chance to escape the chaos. These characters feel like fragments of Springsteen's Jersey Shore memories, colorful locals popping in and out of his life story. You then got a bridge, which is, she got down, but she never got tight. She's gonna make it to the night. She, maybe the same girl from the chorus, dances through life with resilience. Got down means she partied or hit a low, but never got tight suggests she stayed loose, unburdened. Making it to the night flips the usual make it through, which Springsteen also says, showing that she's thriving in the darkness and embracing the wildness. Verse 8. Mama always told me not to look into the eyes of the sun, but mama, that's where the fun is. This is a classic Springsteen line. Defiance wrapped in wisdom. Mama's warning is about danger. The sun is a blinding force, but the narrator craves it. It's the thrill of risk, staring at what could destroy you because it's exhilarating. This could reflect Springsteen's own drive to chase music despite the odds of success. Verse 9. Some brimstone baritone, anti-cyclone rolling stone, preacher from the east. The language gets biblical and poetic. A brimstone baritone preacher thunders in, all fire and judgment. Anti-cyclone rolling stone mixes weather, like a high-pressure system, with Dylan's wanderer, a restless, forceful figure. This preacher's from the east, maybe New York, looming over Jersey, brings a message of upheaval. Verse 10. says dethrone the dictaphone. Hit it in the funny bone. That's where they expect it least. The preacher's advice is cryptic but rebellious. Overthrow the dictaphone, which is a symbol of rigid authority or soulless technology, by striking its weak spot. It's a call to disrupt expectations, perhaps Springsteen's own mission to shake up rock with raw human stories. Verse 11, and some new mown chaperone was standing in the corner, watching the young girls dance. A new mown chaperone, maybe freshly cut like grass, is an odd guardian, maybe a parental figure or society itself, observing youth with a mix of envy and control. The dancing girls embody freedom, unaware of the watchful eyes. Verse 12, and some fresh sown moonstone was messing with his frozen zone, reminding him of romance. Fresh sown moonstone, a gem tied to emotion, thaws the chaperone's frozen zone, his cold, detached heart. It's a flicker of lost passion, a memory of what youth felt like. Springsteen often contrasts the vitality of the young with the regrets of the old. Verse 13, and now Scott, with a slingshot, finally found a tender spot and throws his lover in the sand. Scott with a slingshot is a David-like rebel, hitting a vulnerable mark. Throwing his lover in the sand could be playful or aggressive, a moment of connection or conquest. It's visceral, grounding the song's surrealism in physicality. Verse 14, and some bloodshot forget-me-not whispers daddies within earshot, save the buckshot, turn up the band. A bloodshot forget-me-not, maybe a flower, weary and red-eyed, warns of danger. Daddy, representing authority, is close. Save the buckshot, turn up the band, urges restraint and revelry. Don't fight, just crank the music. It's a plea to keep the party alive despite the risks. And then you got the final line. She got down, but she never got tired. She's gonna make it through the night. The song ends on endurance. She, the girl, the narrator's spirit, or both, keeps going, unexhausted by life's chaos. Through the night now feels triumphant. She's not just surviving, she's owning it. So what does it all mean? Well, Blinded by the Light isn't a linear story. It's a fever dream of youth, bursting with characters and vignettes. Springsteen seems to be capturing the rush of being young in a gritty, vibrant world like Asbury Park. The hormones, the music, the dreams, the letdowns. The song's density reflects his early style, throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, channeling Dylan's wordplay and the energy of bar band rock. At its heart, it's about chasing something bright and blinding while stumbling through the mess of growing up. The light is both a goal and a danger, and the night is where life happens, raw and unfiltered. Springsteen later said he wrote it to impress Columbia Records, packing it with every trick he had. But beneath the dazzle, it's a love letter to the misfits and dreamers he knew, and maybe to his own restless soul. What do you think? Does any part of that resonate with how you hear it? Now let's talk about some fun facts and trivia. It is the only #1 for Springsteen. The Earth Spans cover is the only Springsteen penned song to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. His own highest charting single, Dancing in the Dark, peaked at #2 way back in 1984. And then you got that douche line. You see, the douche mishearing became one of rock's most famous mondegreens. You see, Springsteen quipped that it wasn't popular until Mann rewrote it to be about a feminine hygiene product, which he didn't. He was joking around. But Mann speculated the controversy did help fuel its rise to #1. The gap between Mann's #1 hits, Do Wah Diddy Diddy back in 1964 and Blinded by the Light in 1977 was 13 years, a record at the time for the longest span between chart toppers by a group, if you count his earlier band as the same entity. Now, what about Springsteen's reaction? Well, initially Springsteen wasn't thrilled with the cover, especially the lyric flub. By 2005, he told VH1 that he'd warmed to it, appreciating its success. And he probably also made a fortune from it. He and Thompson did meet in 1979 over a fondue in Zurich. Now, what about the chopsticks origin? Well, the piano riff wasn't planned. Slade's offhand suggestion turned a technical workaround into a defining feature that is now instantly recognizable. Now, what about the Bible Belt backlash? Do you know about that? Check this out. Southern U.S. radio stations hesitated to play it, fearing douche offended conservative listeners. Yet its buzz overcame the reluctance. And then you got Mann's vocal cameo. That's pretty cool. Mann's rare lead vocal on the final verse was a fallback after failing to recruit Springsteen, and it added a quirky twist to the track's legacy. In conclusion, Blinded by the Light by Manfred Mann's Earth Band is a testament to the power of interpretation. From Springsteen's raw, poetic original to the Earth Band's polished prog rock triumph. It's a song that evolved through collaboration, technical quirks, and cultural misadventure. Its production showcased Mann's studio savvy. Its lyrics captured a universal, youthful spirit, and its trivia, from chopsticks to douche, ensures it remains a rock classic with a story as wild as its words. Today, it still revs up listeners, a runner in the night that never fades. Now, today, the Earth Band is largely a legacy act. Their biggest claim to fame remains transforming Springsteen's obscure track into a global anthem, a feat Mann himself has called both a blessing and a curse due to its overshadowing effect. But Manfred Mann's Earth Band isn't just the Blinded by the Light guys. They're a bridge between 1960s pop and 70s prog, a testament to Mann's adaptability and a case study in how a cover can redefine a song's life. So, what do you think of the song Blinded by the Light? Did you even know that it was a cover of a Springsteen song? A lot of people didn't. I certainly didn't until a while back. Is douche the only misinterpretation that you've ever heard? Or are there other words in there that you thought, yeah, he's probably saying something else? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please check out the links below to learn how to support my research and productions. Kindly be kind to all of our fellow Earthlings, and please do not harm them. And do yourself a favor and go to a local shelter and adopt a cat or a dog or both. You and they will be very glad that you did. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.